My name's Sven. I'm one of the colleagues of Delaware in the Belux entity, the Belgian-Luxembourg entity, but I have my responsibility and the pleasure of being the lead for Generative AI for Delaware International. So I get to travel the world a bit around our GenAI practice and how we can further support all of our clients in this matter. So I'm going to run you through how our vision is, our strategy is around generative AI within our organization, but also the stuff that we've already been doing these past couple of years, and I'm talking about years, past 24 months actually, on GenAI for our clients. So actual applications, the real world version of GenAI. Now, before we go into the real world version, this was our initial perception that we had when we came up with generative AI, the monster, the thing that's going to automate everything, and at one point in time, computer will say yes to some things that we'd rather say no. But that was something that caused some fear, that caused some hesitation. Can we trust a machine? Should we trust a machine? To what extent can we really rely on something to run and to, well, become some sort of an assistant in our businesses? Luckily, we've already gone past this, and the moment where computer said yes has now become something more like computer suggests to do this. And should you agree, great. In case you don't agree, equally great, then do it yourself or whatever. But we've come quite accustomed now to, yes, the computer can make suggestions. It can indeed come up with some interesting recommendations, but it's not all that bad. And that's the big distinction is, we've seen initially a messaging where we're going to do everything for you, wonderful. Whereas now it becomes more like, it's an assistant, we're going to do it together with you, but in the end it's still a human that is in control. And that's a big messaging that we needed to, well, correct or slightly adapt. But that's where the point where we're at right now. People are now fully aware, okay, I'm still in full control. It is not a fully automated autopilot, it is a co-pilot. It's in this together, yeah, we're in this together. It's not something that we run as an autonomous driving vehicle or anything. And the realization of it that we are in this together actually makes us realize it is a way to enforce and to actually strengthen our human capabilities. And the way that we will see this in business applications, and the way that we've seen already on our Delaware clients at the moment, is also every single use case is to strengthen existing capabilities. Yes, I want to do it smarter, I want to do it faster, I want to do it in a better way or in a more automated way. Those are the types of use cases that we see on every single day. It's not to do something brand new, it's just to strengthen or to optimize something that we have been doing probably a little bit suboptimal the past couple of years. And how can GenAI help me in this process? And that's interesting to see that combination of those two worlds come together. Now, if I talk about the Delaware practice and the teams in all of our countries that are running AI practices and that have the AI capabilities, we always try to structure towards our clients a little bit how AI is actually finding its place inside Delaware and how we can help our clients on AI and generative AI. And the way we structure this is basically on the four main AI capabilities or AI technologies, if you will, starting with traditional, on the left-hand side, traditional data science, data mining, nice and old school, yeah? Pattern detection, anomaly detection, classification, those kinds of wonderful things, segmentations, that's really nice. Still, a lot of our work is actually happening in data mining, data science, traditional old school stuff. Yes, we got a new momentum with GenAI, but initially a lot of questions are actually old school data science, yeah? We think a lot of OpenAI is at some point, on GPT is at some point a necessity. It could become absolutely very, very valuable, but in the core, it's still about data, analyzing data, processing data, and how can I work with it? So that's one pillar. Second pillar is everything regarding language. And that's where, for example, the old school chatbots, natural language processing comes in play, but now also most recently, the Copilot. Yeah? How can we leverage our language capabilities, our natural language capabilities in a smarter way? And that's where the Copilot products come into play. Thirdly, everything on computer vision, using imagery, using video feeds, using images and derive intelligence from it, using wonderful computer vision technologies, such as an Azure Custom Vision, for example, and many other ones like a RoboVision that we run also. And then the fourth one on the far right-hand side, the absolute topic of the day, the generative AI capability. Yeah? Now, interesting is, you should consider this as a many-to-many relation, because these are all capabilities that we see in each of the business processes on our client side. We see marketing cases around data. We see marketing cases around language. We see operation shop floor cases around data. We see shop floor cases for the same case in computer vision, quality inspection, for example. So this is a many-to-many combination that we see in everything that we do with our clients. Yeah? Let's zoom in a little bit on the generative AI topic, of course. The way that we've seen this come to life, and we always talk about that the birth basically being November 2022, when ChatGPT became public. It actually made us reflect on the way that we run our businesses globally. Yeah? It actually made us reflect on how can we do better, how can we embrace this capability in such a way that it actually will change the way I do my business, probably improve it, make it a little bit more efficient, make it maybe a little bit more cost efficient. But the reflections that we need to make is it will help me, and it might even change the way that I deliver value internally for my employees, the way I run my process internally, but also the way that I deliver value to my clients. It is a question that each organization should ask itself. Where can I make a difference? Not just for the sake of applying GenAI, but just reflecting on the sustainability of your operating model, the sustainability of your business model, the sustainability of your revenue model. Is that still something that will be there in its current form, or will that be impacted because potentially your competition is going to be disrupting something? Yeah? So reflecting on the way you're going to create value, drive value, that's the key message that each and every single company should reflect on. And both internally as well as, of course, customer facing. So reevaluating businesses is actually one of the key questions that we get very, very often, I think almost on a daily basis. We need to go and have those kinds of conversations with clients on how should I look at my business, not only today, but tomorrow, next week, next month. What are the things that are potentially up for optimization, up for change, up for potentially re-engineering in some cases. Yeah? But those are the types of engagements, those are the types of conversations that you need to have within your organizations, and where we can help you indeed from our Delaware point of view. Happy to support you there. But those are the types of questions that we see popping up very, very actively. The 4 ways on how to structure the GenAI capabilities. We slightly adapted it a little bit from a client point of view, the way that we receive questions, the way that we are getting traction, and that we see momentum in the market in 4 different dimensions, if you will. Everything on content creation, in the text creation, summarization creation, how can I really create content from a generated intelligence? Yeah? How can I derive intelligence from that? Summarizing emails, drafting paragraphs, those kinds of capabilities. That's where indeed a lot of information is coming from. That's where you have the GPT models, the GPT engines. There is media creation. We've seen the image creation with the DALL-E models, for example. Most recently, you had the announcement of some of that you know on OpenAI Sora. The video creation is also popping up now, yeah? In a very early infant stage, but it's extremely well. It's very, very nice, yeah? The way that they have already been able to create something that very, very nicely edited, nicely done, with a very easy, short prompt. That's extremely interesting in a creative setting, marketing communication agencies, the departments that are working on marketing and branding, for example. So those are things that we see popping up as well, and that we get questions around. Everything regarding conversation creation, the ChatGPT capabilities. Actually talk to my data. A very easy question is something that is directly linked to I want to have a capability to engage with my data, with my ERP system in the back in a natural language way. I want to have a Copilot on top of it. I want to have a ChatGPT-like thing or something that looks like it on top of my environment, on top of my applications. Those are things that then come into what is out of the box capable or out of the box possible with, for example, a Copilot. But also what are extensions? Where can I enrich things with APIs? Where can I leverage on a Microsoft Graph capability, for example, that's running in the back? Those are things that you can definitely look into when we talk about conversation creation. On the code creation, yes, as a consultancy organization, we have a lot of wonderful, smart developer people. They're extremely eager to work on GitHub Copilot and stuff like that. But also our clients are asking us those questions. Hey guys, I got a bunch of developers. We need to make them smarter and deliver more value for our internal IT organization. Let's help them on GitHub Copilot. So it's not only for our own internal benefit inside Delaware, but it's also for our clients' benefit that we want to engage on GitHub Copilot and how to streamline and help them do wonderful stuff on GitHub. Yeah. So these are the 4 types of questions that we're getting from our clients, and where we see actually a lot of market momentum. If I would pinpoint 2 that really stand out a little bit more than the other ones, it's definitely the content creation and the conversation creation. That's, I think, where we really get the most questions today, in different forms and shapes, coming from sales and marketing teams, coming from shop floor managers for MES systems. In every single version, that's where those 2 most prominently pop up. Some other use cases that we see, and there are actually quite a few of them are actually now being developed with a few of our clients. The customer service one. If you have contact centers, if you have a customer service desk, in the traditional human agent way of running a customer service desk, it is a costly activity. It is not always a very efficient activity, where there's a lot of recurring questions, the frequently asked questions. The human agent is not always happy to keep answering them in the same way, with the same enthusiasm. Actually, a lot of those questions are now trying or being managed by a intelligent agent, by a GenAI agent. All of the common questions that are being asked, speech to text, text to speech, all of those capabilities are now done with a GenAI agent. And if something becomes much more complex, then we will have a bypass to a human agent. This is the reality. We are building this for a few of our clients. We are building GenAI service desk for our clients. Yeah? And there's always going to be a human fallback. But when it is about, and for example, the case that we're now doing is for a large insurance company, a global insurance company. At that point in time, it's a very interesting activity for them, because they say 80% of the questions that we get are just about contracts, the policy, what is covered in my contract, and that's easy stuff to actually facilitate in a GenAI process. Yeah? If you can just connect it with your data sources on your contracting, you can get the right answers. And the more complex, more tricky questions will have the human agent as a fallback. Yeah? Same is happening on reporting. Talk to my data. Yeah? There's a bunch of wonderful connectors that you have available within the Microsoft ecosystem. For example, connection with your Azure Data Lake Gen 2. If you have that in place, you can connect it to your Copilot as well. Yeah? Connect it with your Microsoft Graph in the middle. Microsoft Graph then will be reading on your Azure Data Lake, and you can actually talk to your data. Show me the latest trends, show me the latest evolutions, what were my latest orders, what is the volume of this. Those are all capabilities that you can connect directly to your data source, or even in your Power BI analytical application with a Power BI Copilot, for example. Yeah? That is then the user-friendly way, if you want it, or the more end-user approach to things. But talking to your data is going to be a core requirement that we're already seeing now as well. I'm going to take the third one out there as well. Knowledge management. I think if we see something or an opportunity for many organizations to really upgrade the way that they've been running knowledge management or knowledge strategy, knowledge sharing strategy in their organizations, it's about infusing GenAI in the knowledge management activity. Yeah? Traditionally, we're all working with metadata, looking for the right indexes, and hopefully you get the right document as an answer, as a feedback loop. That is now all about to change, because we're not looking for the right file, we're looking for the right paragraph, we're looking for the right text. We just want to have the right piece of information inside a file. Yeah? And that is what we're looking for. We don't want to scroll through the ultimate file that you've figured out is probably going to contain the right answer. I want to have the exact paragraph that I'm looking for. So the way that we're going to look at this is we're going to look at GenAI as the way to talk to your data sources, to talk to your file server, to talk to your SharePoint, and retrieve the right information as it is being generated from a source document. So that knowledge management dimension is really going to change the way that we engage with documents, file servers, and share knowledge. Yeah? That's going to be a very interesting one. And also for us internally inside Delaware, we have a big knowledge management initiative. Well, we call it the Delaware Brain. At least that's what we like to call it, and hopefully we'll get there at one point, which is going to be the sum of everything that we have inside Delaware. All of the knowledge that we have, we're going to try and combine it in one massive brain and have it or make it accessible through a conversational agent, because we want to make information as widely and broadly accessible for everybody as possible within their access and user rights, of course. Yeah. So Azure Entra, please keep track of that one as well. Okay. And don't be worried, M365 Copilot, or don't be concerned, M365 Copilot always takes into consideration your user and access rights as they are managed in your Azure AD as well, yeah, or Azure Intra. Okay, so from a governance point of view, you're always covered there as well. Good. Just to showcase some things that we are seeing. Now, let's talk about some real names. And I know some of you are in similar industries, but we have approval to showcase them a little bit. Pharmaceutical companies on Sanofi, so the big pharma company, French company based in Paris. This was actually a project that was run with the Sanofi China entity, to be honest. What is their big challenge is they have a massive product information management system where all of the product information is stored in, yeah, around their brochures, their flyers, their presentations, which is all there for the creation of commercial collateral. The moment that something changes in their PIM systems, they need to recreate all of that slideware, recreate all the brochures and update everything that is linked to that update in their PIM system. Now what we've did is we've used a GPT model and we've built a auto generation of that collateral. We are generating and regenerating the slideware, the flyers, everything that needs to be updated with the new version of the PIM information. Using a GPT model, we're going to rewrite the text, we're going to adjust the collateral as it becomes available based on the PIM updates in this case. Yeah? And then it follows the flow back into regulatory, because in the pharmaceutical industry there's quite a heavy governance around regulatory, of course, so you want to make sure that you keep track of those guidelines as well. So GPT in the setting of a product information management creation could be interesting. The guys from the European Maritime Safety Agency out in Portugal, Lisbon, European institution, they actually have a very interesting role. They need to safeguard everything that happens on the continental, European waterways, which is everything North Sea, the Atlantic, Mediterranean, everything there. And they also get all the triggers, all the alerts if there is a fire on a ship, if there's a ship in issue, having an issue, if there's an oil spill, whatever, they get all the alerts. So there's a massive alerting messaging system behind it, but it's extremely cryptic. It's just, this is the ship, these are the longitudes, latitudes, we think that's the issue, nothing more than that. Now, what we actually did is that message needs to be communicated to all of the countries involved. If it's in front of the French coast, you want to make sure that the people of France are aware of what's happening there. Yeah? Even if the current is moving towards Lisbon, you might want to also include the Portuguese government to actually give them already a heads up or something. Now, just sending out and forwarding such a cryptic message is probably not the best way. So what we did is we made a GPT engine to actually enrich, or we used the GPT engine to enrich and add additional context around a incident message. Yeah? Yes, we have a fire. What is the ship? Is it from that carrier? What's on board? What do we have as additional information? What is the additional knowledge that we have? Is the third time that this incident happens with the same cargo carrier? Yeah? Those kinds of additional context, additional information is being enriched on top of that initial cryptic message and make sure that it's also being communicated to the relevant countries. So yes, this is in a governmental setting, but the reflection and the reason why I wanted to share this with you is we're all in some form or shape probably having a process around incident management in our organizations. Yeah? Everything related to risk management. How can we make sure that communication is being enriched with the right content and spread in the right way? Another one, and yes, there are quite a few European Union institutions. Reason why? They have money and they like to do innovation. So I'm very happy with those two combinations. So ECB, central bank, at that point in time, they have an interesting process, which is we need to keep track of the banks applying the policies that we enforce. Yeah? Are they doing the right things? Are they publishing the right reports in the right time frame? They keep control over the retail banks and the insurance companies. If a bank does not apply the rules in the correct way, if they deviate a little bit, or if they just go bluntly in the wrong direction, they get a sanction, they get a penalty, they get a sanction report. Now, in the traditional way of doing things, those sanction reports were written manually. Yeah? What we did now is we built a text generation engine where actually we are generating the sanction reports. We're just prompting, these are the key highlights, this is the bank, this is the penalty, this is the law that they are ignoring. Yeah? Generate me the sanction report. And we have a library of sanction reports that is based and where the data is actually grounded on to retrieve an actual new sanction report. In the end, there's still a human check that says, yes, we can indeed send out this generated sanction report. Yeah? It is not a fully a fully automated process, but the realization that this used to be a quite heavy manual job and now being completely automated, almost completely automated, has made a big difference for ECB. Yeah? And these are just a few examples of how can you automate lengthy, time-consuming activities. How can we make sure that we can introduce some of those capabilities that GPT has, that the content creation capability brings. Boehringer actually had a challenge with their marketing information that was being used and reused in different ways. Yeah? They have images, they have a lot of marketing assets, a lot of information that was again in their digital asset management system, their DAM system. Yeah? A lot of information was in there. It was just very poorly maintained. Metadata was missing, applications were not in the right way, the versions were not in the right way. So they could have probably hired a little army of students to do a summer job and update all of the metadata, but that was probably not going to be the best decision from a quality point of view. So what we actually did is we used the GPT model to actually enrich the metadata for each of the single marketing assets that were available inside their DAM system. So we upgraded all of the DAM information and enriched all of the metadata based on these are the images, these are the text, this is what it's used for, these are the products, these are the characteristics of those images, and all of the other collateral that we have available, just to improve the data quality and to improve the metadata of your systems. And now, yes, it's in a DAM environment, but it could be your ERP system, it could be your file server, whatever you can do to enrich and to improve your quality of data, quality of metadata is the key message I want to share here with you. Yeah? So also there, that's where GenAI also comes into play and can be of added value. Now, I'd like to share with you a model. Delaware has not invented this. This is based on something that was initially created by the friends from Gartner, which is called the Opportunity Radar, which is a very interesting model I'd like to share with you, and please reflect on it when you have some conversations on GenAI inside your organizations. It actually works in a very easy way to plot your different use cases. Where are we with the feasibility of executing potential use cases, and what are the areas where our use cases are residing? You actually have two axes. Top side, on the vertical axis, everything related to customer facing. On the bottom, everything inside the organization, internal facing. Left-hand side, traditional everyday AI. Right-hand side, game-changing, more innovative AI. The closer you are to the center, the more feasible your use case is. The farther away you are, the more to the outside you get with your use case, the more challenging your use case will be. Data issues, limited maturity in the organization, whatever, the more to the outside, that's where the real challenges pop up. The closer to the center, the more likely you're going to be having success with your use case. Now, please reflect on this model. Use it as a guidance, as an assistant for you to think about on your use cases. We've made some initial reflections ourselves on different verticals. Yeah? This is something that we've built upon further after the Gartner exercise with our own experiences from in this case, healthcare providers. Some potential use cases that we've seen there. The patient is definitely a very, very important aspect, communicating with patients. Clinical condition diagnosis, auto-generating clinical documents is an extremely interesting activity in the pharmaceutical setting with healthcare providers. So all of those types of activities are really popping up. Manufacturing, very interesting to, for example, look into your factory asset effectiveness. How well are my machines performing? And should I already generate an alert with additional context in case a production order might bring defaults? I had the exact case literally with a client. Yeah, I want to have a factory of the future where I can use production orders. Before they go into production, I want to predict what are the chances of production failures. And if that production order has a high chance of production failure, I already want to generate a failure message or a risk of a message on a display next to the machine to my shop floor manager. Yeah? Those kinds of reflections, that's where, for example, manufacturing is reflecting when we talk about GenAI. Another one on retail. This, for example, stuff that we've been doing already for quite some years on traditional AI, the customer segmentation, product recommendations, basket compositions. But what we also see now is supply chain optimization. Yeah? How can I model the most ideal route to market? Yeah? Should I use a central DC, a satellite DC, local DCs, whatever is my ideal networking strategy? How can I make sure that I have, for example, the dimension of the capability of real-time pricing? We don't like it in our role as consumers, but it is reality. Real-time pricing is becoming a new thing in retail, and it's already the case to some extent when we have an e-commerce setting, but in the brick and mortar stores, it is also popping up now. Yeah? So those are capabilities that are influenced by AI and influenced by generative AI, and will become definitely something to keep an eye on in the very near future. All right, just to showcase a few of the things that we are working on. If we talk about how can we engage with you, how can Delaware support you in all of these conversations, all of these activities, we actually see quite a few ways where clients engage with us. Traditionally, there's an initial awareness that we're asked to bring, usually to C-levels, quote unquote C-levels, but just to bring people up to speed. This is where we're at. This is what GenAI means in an organization. This is what it can mean in your industry. Quite fast, it actually follows up with, hey, let's do an ideation session. Let's engage in an idea lab because
I want to bring a group of people together. I want to engage with that group of people and think about how can they change, how can they come up with use cases where I can benefit from GenAI in my organization. And big question there is, don't use GenAI as the absolute thing to go towards in the end. First, look into what are my pains and my gains. Where are the things that everybody's really frustrated about? What are the things that are extremely annoying for everybody? Let's look at the process. If GenAI can be part of your solution, great. If it is a process solution, equally great. But let's look at the initial pains and gains, and let's start from there on. Quite easily from that point onwards, we derive with some, or we come with some potential experiments. We go into proof of concept
capabilities. We try to group, and that's interesting maybe to share as well, we try to have proof of concepts over a timeline of, well, a lead time of around 2 to 3 weeks. It's extremely short. Reason why is keep the momentum. If we have proof of concepts that are taking 6 months, you have lost your management attention, everyone's a bit tired, you haven't really been able to show value. So we try to always box capabilities in a proof of concept around 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah? It's very interesting to have that as a target both for ourselves as for the clients. And then a fourth one I'd like to share, which is interesting in a OpenAI world and a public ChatGPT version. It's actually a question that we get quite often. I don't trust people using the public ChatGPT because it will expose my data to an American server outside of an Azure geography. I don't want to have that risk. I'm not sure if you're all aware about the little hiccup that Samsung had in the training data of GPT. So some engineers got access to the early version of GPT, the ChatGPT. They were prompting certain questions about NDA content, but that question was actually triggered and the answer were actually included in the GPT training data. So all of a sudden in the public version, there was NDA Samsung information being returned as answers. Yeah? You don't want to have that situation. Yeah? You don't want to have a Samsung on your hands. So this is why we try and promote, please use a private ChatGPT. A M365 Copilot is a version of a private ChatGPT. Yeah? So that is wonderful to have that already in place. If you don't have it right now as an M365 Copilot solution, please already look into an OpenAI API deployed on your Azure environment that you have on your own, your private. That private ChatGPT is very interesting to make sure that everybody uses and prompts in a secure and safe way. Yeah. So those are just 4 ways that we are supporting our clients in this. Please reach out and engage with all of your contacts at the Delaware organization. We're very happy to engage on this conversation.